Welcome, everyone, to episode 102 of the Indie Reds podcast. I'm your host, Joe Dilling. With me tonight, it's just Mr. Brian Smith. So tonight, Brian and I are going to chat about the Watford match, maybe some club news we missed in the last podcast. Look forward to the Tire Cup and the Club World Championship, or as Brian likes to call it, looking forward to traveling to Qatar to face Monterrey in the FIFA Entire Planet World Club Cup, and also Aston Villa away in the World English Reserves / U18 Big Shiny Cup.
Yes,
Thanks, Brian.
That is what it's called. I think that's official. That is the longest hashtag ever in this podcast history, but I think that's right.
And also, we're going to talk about Champions League discussion. But before we get started, OLSC Indianapolis Vice Chair Brian Smith wants to have a chat about something of actual importance. Brian, take it away.
Well, thank you, sir. Actual importance. Well, I'm kind of proud to represent OLSC Indianapolis and all the Indy Reds tonight, and all the board members and Indy Reds, both here in Indianapolis and throughout the state, and some friends we know in Memphis, and some that have moved to Ohio, and all around that consider themselves Indy Reds. You know, we have another holiday donation drive going this year, and Joe, I appreciate you giving me the chance to kind of lead off the show with this. So for the second consecutive year, the LFC or OLSC Indianapolis and the Indy Reds have partnered with the SOAR initiative, which stands for Street Outreach Animal Response. And it's a local nonprofit organization here in Indianapolis that was created in 2014. And what they do is they provide assistance for people experiencing homelessness or other crisis who also have pets. So those of you that are pet lovers or find that particular cause to be kind of near and dear to your heart, or want to participate or maybe donate a little bit, we're doing some things at Union Jack. We're accepting donations there, both at the match on Boxing Day. We're looking for socks or gloves or any type of winter gear or kind of thermal gear, really looking for kind of a size XL or larger is what the SOAR leadership is telling us. Winter hats, also dry cat food, wet dog food, any of those kind of things you can bring to Union Jack on Boxing Day, December 26th against Leicester, or really any time at Union Jack. We've got a box set up there that the rest of the OLSC Indianapolis board decorated beautifully to kind of collect some items. If you're wanting to stop by Union Jack in beautiful Bald Ripple and bring a donation, that's great. If you're not able to make it there, you can also PayPal to OLSC Indianapolis at lfcindy7@gmail.com. That's lfcindy, then the number 7@gmail.com. That's been our PayPal address for years and years and years. If you want to make a monetary donation, you can do that there. And you're helping the Indy Reds and helping the SOAR initiative, which is a great effort here and just a wonderful cause here in Indianapolis. And on behalf of the board and all the Indy Reds, thank you very much for those of you who already participated and donated. And if you think about it, please consider participating in one of the ways that I just mentioned. And thank you, Joe.
Hey, no problem. And also, since we're talking about OLSC Indianapolis, if you did prepay for a scarf, the scarves are in and they'll be available at the upcoming matches. I don't know about Aston Villa match, or Club World Championship, but other than that, mainly let's just look at Premier League matches. Someone will be there with scarves to pass them out. Correct, Brian?
Yes, definitely on the Boxing Day match on the 26th against Leicester. We'll have the scarves there as well. We've had them there for the last couple of home matches. Not everyone's been able to make it to UJ's, and that's cool. We will definitely have them there for the 26th. The board's still working out if we're going, how we're going to work that out for the midweek matches in the Entire Planet World Club Cup that we just talked about earlier, and the U18 Reserves Cup that we talked about as well. But definitely there for the 26th. Absolutely, that's going to be a great game against Leicester. And if you don't already have your scarf, they're beautiful. And what better day to pick it up than on first place LFC plays Leicester on the 26th.
Second place Leicester on top of that, because I don't think Leicester is going to drop points. Well, I mean, excuse me. I don't think they're going to drop a place. But anyway, let's get back to the pod. That'll be brought up probably later. All right, so the Reds welcomed bottom of the table Watford with new manager Nigel Pearson. You might remember we've seen Nigel previously in the Premier League. He was the manager when Leicester was recently promoted and has stayed in the Premier League since. He also resigned under some turmoil, but I'd rather not discuss that. If you really want to know, you can, or don't remember, you can look it up on Wikipedia. Watford struggling this term, but they were looking to impress a new manager. Watford was also welcoming back Troy Deeney. Oh, and speaking of Troy Deeney, I want to remind everyone that he hates playing against Virgil. He has previously said he's too big, too strong, too quick, too good on the ball, loves fighting, has a good head of hair, and he even smells good. So he said all that about Virgil, and I love every minute of it, and I chuckle every single time. Troy Deeney seems like a good guy, even though he plays for Watford. So anyway,
he is the best Premiership player ever to serve time in prison and play in the Premiership, I believe.
Really?
I read that, and I actually didn't look it up. I did laugh at the quote you were talking about and how Virgil smells good. That's real. He did say that he smells good along with the other 35 other great qualities we know he has. So if I'm going to get sued for mentioning that part about, I don't even know what the issue is. I might have to Wikipedia that along with their manager. But, yeah, I think something might have happened to him before. And if not, Joe, please edit this out because I don't want to get in trouble.
No, I don't think he'll get charged with libel. I mean, nobody's listening. So, let's see here.
Well, you say you're selling yourself short. We got plenty of
I know, we do have some.
Multiple continents and states all over the place. And absolutely. Anyway, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it looks like he might have spent some time in 10 months imprisonment after pleading guilty to a charge of affray, having attacked a group.
Affray. That's a British term for, and man, we need Jim here. It's kind of like if I remember correctly, it's like a fight or maybe a lesser level of assault type thing. So we'll have to ask Jim next week.
He kicked a guy in the head in a bar fight, and he spent 10 months in prison for it.
Hell, that happens at Noodles and Company every week when the Manchester United supporters are over there.
Oh, great. Okay, so anyway, Klopp made a few changes to the side. He starts Shaq in place of Naby. Milner is at left back for Robbo, and Nico Williams makes the substitute bench. So obviously hindsight's 2020, but what did you make of this lineup at the time, Brian?
I honestly didn't even notice Williams on the sub bench, so I didn't get to watch this match at UJ. I watched it at home, and which was a interesting change of pace. But I kind of find it interesting. People are talking about Shaq starting in place of Naby, who, we forget Naby starting in place of Genie, and of course Genie was out there, but Naby's not a regular midfielder as well. So we're down to the second in perhaps even third level here, maybe. 2.5 levels deep once you get, Shaq out there instead of Naby. So I wasn't that worried about it. It's good to see, Klopp rotating players. We have, heading into this match, I believe, 10 matches in 33 days. Now, that includes the match in the reserves under 18 big shiny cup that we talked about against Villa. We'll get to that. But tons of matches coming up, tons of travel coming up. It's good to rotate some players. I was happy to see Shaq out there. Naby's had a couple of good games in a row. So I wasn't that worried about it. Milner starting a left back, I think, was the biggest concern for me. Not that, Watford has people flying up the right wing and it was going to put, Milner under tons of pressure and maybe break us down over there. But generally speaking, it was good for good to see Klopp making some rotation, and we've got some big games coming up, as I mentioned. And I wasn't that terribly worried about it, but what were you thinking, Joe, when you saw the lineup? Any surprises or any concerns initially?
I was actually surprised by Shaq, but looking back at it now, it makes sense. I mean, Naby's played 2 games on the bounce, and he probably could have used a break, and that's probably what I'm chucking it up to. And plus, Shaq's back and feeling good, so, I mean, let's give him a good run. And I think what Klopp wanted was he wanted some creativity in that midfield, and when he pulls Naby out, he needs to have someone that's creative or at least has speed. And in there, so he chose Shaq, and I think it was a good choice. Good choice. I mean, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain would have been a good one, but I think he's still kind of keeping him as Mane's backup, or excuse me, Salah's backup for the time being. So I was fine with it. We're playing the bottom of the table team, so we expect Klopp to make some rotations. Like you said, we're gonna have a lot of matches coming up. So
yeah, I think you're right, and of course the weather forecast, we'll probably get to that, was unbelievably windy, and Shaq's hair can now handle that. So if you're going to put him out there on a windy day, he can do that now. So he's a good choice for the starting 11.
Oh, it was nice to see Nico Williams out there, at least on the sub. A good chance. It encourages everybody. I mean, we get that from Trent, but those academy players to actually get to make a bench when they might not have before, it kind of gives them a good look. I mean, it might be just because we're getting a little shorthanded, but Nico Williams makes the trip to Qatar. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this, but I think Dejan Lovren stayed back.
I'm not sure. We might have to look that up, and maybe you can click away as I'm chatting here, but. This is one thing I wanted to look up, is because I knew we might talk about it tonight. I don't remember, Joe. I'm going to kind of really show my stupidity here on this topic. Did we see Williams up in South Bend, either on the field or at training? Or I don't remember. I don't know that much about. I
don't think we did. Who we saw Sepp Vandenberg, and oh my gosh, was this?
I remember seeing Sepp. Yeah,
you
can't miss him. He's like 7 foot tall. And he's ginger.
And I'm trying to remember who was the guy. It wasn't Nico Williams. Who's the other young guy that's kind of was starting for the reserves, but he's not doing it now. He's on loan.
In the back line, not Larucci, or listeners were really kind of figuring this out as we go, as you can tell. But I guess suddenly I'm thinking, if Nico Williams was there, he signed the ball that I have, because every player went down the line. But I don't remember seeing him or seeing him in training, that we went to the closed training, or I don't know. Interesting. Yeah. We might have to look that up.
Let's see here. Team flight.
But yeah, he's on the way to Qatar, I guess. I don't know if he'll see any minutes, but good experience for him to travel and go to this particular tournament that is very, very tough to get into, and it's only a good thing to be picked for that when you're his age.
Yep, exactly. But anyway, so the first half gets underway, and it's pretty much all Liverpool. It's very windy at Anfield. At one point, Ben Foster puts the ball down for a goal kick, and the ball rolls like 3 feet. I mean, seriously, it does. I think Liverpool players were complaining because he I don't know about you, Brian, but it sure seemed like Ben Foster was taking a long time to do goal kicks. Like they were almost time wasting from the first minute of the game. I don't know. It felt like they were really taking a long time, especially on goal kicks, at least in my opinion. But
that particular instance, you're right. The ball kind of blew away, several feet away. It wasn't just wiggling in, a couple inches in place. It actually blew away from him. I mean, he points down to it to, kind of takes a moment and does that. And I think he wanted the referee to notice that, hey, the wind did that. I didn't do it, but I didn't really notice them wasting a whole lot of time. In fact, they had a couple of decent attacks, and I thought they had Watford, that is, had a pretty decent first half, or at least first half an hour or so. Played better than I thought they were going to, that's for sure. And they played better, in my opinion, than a bottom of the table team.
Oh, by the way, here, Dejan Lovren is not included after sustaining a muscle injury against Salzburg earlier this week. So no Dejan Lovren. But we'll talk about this a little bit later.
That scares the shit out of me. All right.
That's why Nico Williams
went.
Okay,
I'll wait. Oh, shit.
And also, I did see that after the match tomorrow, Vandenberg and Harvey are going to catch a flight to Qatar or Qatar.
Yes, Qatar. Or Qatar, but probably Qatar.
Probably Qatar. Okay, so anyway, moving on. Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. Okay, back to my thing. Sorry, everybody. So
you're right. I listened to, if you want to hear a press conference about, the youthful team that's coming up, Neil Critchley, who's kind of in charge of the club, for the Carabao Cup match, had a press conference, and you can listen to that press conference on the Blood Red podcast. I listened to that today. So he did talk about some of the young players jumping on a plane and going. He had a great line. He says he might sneak on the plane himself and fly over there and check out the match. So yeah, it was well done.
Nice.
It was a good line. Good line.
Sounds
like
by the way,
I would come up with.
The player I thought, or the player we saw that I was referring to in South Bend was Nat Phillips. I was looking that up also. He's massive, massive. But he's out on loan this season.
Gotcha.
So Nico is probably that's why he's probably traveling with the team. Anyway, so we were talking about the wind. Passes were tough to control and errant. Balls like the ones, the crossfield passes we usually see from Trent were sailing or short or off target. So Brian, do you think the wind really changed how we played in this match?
The weather was definitely a factor. You're right. Mostly the wind. I mean, nice sunny day, and I don't think the temperature was too bad. I mean, these players now just wear regular shirt sleeves, maybe one layer underneath, and they run around like such maniacs for 90 minutes. They're certainly not cold, but you can certainly see a lot of supporters all bundled up and kids in stocking hats and scarves and that kind of thing. I don't know that it necessarily changed the way we play. I think we tried to play like we normally did. We saw plenty of switches from Trent over to Milner in this case on the left fullback spot. And we saw a lot of balls that we would normally play, some long balls from the back line that we normally play, to the attacking, the front three to try to catch the defenders out. So I don't think we really changed the way we played, but it made it really difficult to pull those passes off.
It did. I remember seeing one fly.
It was tough. It was really tough, and long shots were really tough as well. So now it didn't change the way we played, but it made us less effective.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think that kind of leads to the next thing I was talking about, how the team didn't really seem very sharp. So, however, classic Liverpool in the 38th minute, a quick counter from Liverpool on a Watford corner. Bobby plays a ridiculous ball that finds Mane streaking down the left. Mane plays the ball into Mo, who puts the ball on his right foot. Yes, his non-preferred right foot, and curls a past Ben Foster. 1-0 Liverpool, and they take that into the half. Liverpool appear to have increased their lead after a Mane header. However, VAR overturns as Mane was offside. There's been a lot of complaining about it online, but Brian and I both think that was the right call. Talking offline. Plus, guys, let's just be honest. I'm tired of talking about VAR and bitching and belly aching about it. Brian has talked ad nauseum about how he would improve VAR. I'm not there saying that we should scratch it. I think that VAR is a good thing, but it could be used better in the Premier League. And I think, Brian, that's what you agree as well.
Yes, agreed.
So that's what we're going to say. That's the stance of the podcast tonight, at least, and not talking about VAR.
I'm glad you did bring up Firmino's ball in that first goal, though, because off that Watford corner, I believe Gini gets a touch to get that ball, somewhat clear, and I think it's their midfielder Hughes, the guy that's white as a ghost and has like silver hair. He actually had a pretty good game. Kind of puts the ball back in, and Bobby does this ridiculous overhead karate chop, double no look behind the back, ridiculous, clearance. It's a clearance, it's a pass, it's a through ball, it's audacious. I can't think of another player that I've seen on this club that would be as part of the forward line, even back in that area and pull that off to such perfection. The next touch after Bobby's overhead kick that I just described, the next touch was Mane's through ball with his left foot into Salah. I mean, this is a ridiculous ball by Bobby to even try that and to pull it off. I don't know if he got lucky. I don't know if he was planning it all along. I don't care. It's ridiculous. And it's one of the reasons I just love Firmino so much. And yeah, Mane puts Salah through. He just absolutely buries it. And then, it's 1-0. We thought it was 2-0, as you said, and we won't get into that. But, it's 1-0 at the half, and we're kind of hanging in there. Watford's actually playing pretty well, but I was very happy to be 1-0 at the half, of course.
Yeah, in the second half, it was quite a bit much more of this back and forth. Watford had some decent chances. Liverpool had decent chances, but in stoppage time,
Watford had some terrific chances. Sorry to jump on you there, but they really did.
Sarr, I go back. This was first half, but Sarr has one. It's just a dirty sitter, and he just completely shanks it. I mean, I think he probably had Allison dead to rights on that one. I mean, they just.
Oh yeah, that's a goal.
Yeah, it really should have been. It was just ridiculous. But anyway, in stoppage time, Origi finds space in the box, and I thought it ricocheted, but apparently it didn't because they looked at it for VAR, and it finds Mo. And if you haven't seen this goal, you really need to go look it up. He backheels it. Not only is it a goal, but it's a nutmeg goal. Liverpool win 2-0, and it was fun. It was fun to see. It wasn't the best match, and I think it might have been, at least overall, in my opinion, it's one of those matches where you get the best of the other team because they're trying to play up for their new manager and they want to look good. But I think we got lucky at times too. And also, I think that Troy Deeney coming back in the squad, spending some time away with injury, Watford's probably going to change things around, I think. That's just my impression. Brian, what do you think? I think if Watford keep up that play, do you think they're gonna be able to stay up?
Ooh, so when you first said they were going to change things around, I'm thinking, turn things around. I'm like, oh my gosh, where's he going here? And I'm kind of slightly delaying here to pull the table up. So okay, here we got it. So they have 9 points. Norwich is in front of them with 12. Southampton in front of them with 15. Villa with 15. Everton in 16th with 18 points. So Watford they're 6 points out of safety, and their goal difference is horrific. So really, they're 7 points away from safety. Although they played well,
I didn't look at the table
against us. I don't think they're going to survive. No.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but they might be back up the next year. Well, heck, they'll probably lose a bunch of players because you can't tell me that De La Feu is going to go play in the championship, and I don't think Troy Deeney really would play in the championship again either. Just my shakes at it. And Ben Foster's a serviceable goalkeeper too. I think he do a job. He do a job as well.
Certainly better than Pickford is, and we make fun of Pickford all the time. And I guess Pickford has, started for England sometimes, and so maybe I'm being a little bit silly here, but you're right. Watford supporters did not expect their team to create that many chances at Anfield, and they, for the most part, they played pretty well, and we're lucky they didn't finish better than they did. But at the same time, we didn't finish very well either. Hendo tried a couple of long-range balls. One was like a side volley from like 25 yards that went about 30 rows deep. This could have easily been a 5-2 like we had against Everton, and us in complete control if we'd have finished a little bit better as well. Mm-hmm. So Watford supporters, I think, were probably excited and kind of happy with their first half performance, and probably really happy through 80 minutes until Salah puts that ball away at the end. But if they could play like that, well, really not very many teams come to Anfield and create that many chances. But I think they probably surprised us a little bit. They took advantage of the wind and the weather, and we may have overlooked them just a touch. But no, I don't think they'll stay up. But you're right to ask that question because they performed better than really anybody thought they would.
A lot like Norwich did the first game of the season. We really weren't expecting that out of Norwich, and they surprised us. I mean, seriously, we won. But
was that end up being 4-3? I forget now. It's been so many damn games.
Yeah, Timo Pukki put on a show.
Yeah. Well, and Norwich also beat City, so Watford's not going to go do that. Of course, I hope they do, but
I hope they beat Leicester.
I don't think they're going to. But, you know what? We'll get to it. I might be more worried about City than Leicester, but I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
We'll see.
I've been known to be crazy.
Yeah, we all are. All right, so I purposely haven't asked a lot of questions because I really want to focus on the players and their performances. I'm not going to tell you to ask you to give me star ratings or anything like that, Brian. I just kind of want to see your impression on players this match, and I'll give mine as well. So, Brian, what did you think about with Shaq?
At first, like I said, it was good to see him start, and as you said, it was a good pick. I thought he kind of had two different halves. I noticed in the first half he was on the ground a lot, and I don't mean 15 times, but at least 3 or 4 occasions it seemed like he got muscled off the ball, knocked down, off balance, ended up kind of on the floor. But he was much, much better in the second half, better on the ball. I don't think I remember being knocked on the ground at all in the second half. So kind of tale of two halves for him. I thought he was fine. He wasn't, particularly outstanding, but he was, pretty decent on the ball and didn't ask him to do a whole lot of defensive work. And so he was fine there. But overall, solid performance, nothing spectacular. But I'll take that from him. But, one guy that we did ask a lot of defensive work of is, Milner filling in at left back. What'd you think of him, Joe?
Man, I thought Milner did his job and did as good as well as anybody not named Andy Robertson would have done it in this match. But you look at it and you can just tell the way the club plays completely differently when Milner is playing left back as opposed to Robbo. When Robbo plays left back, it's almost like they have comfort in that. Robbo does runs that Milner doesn't. Not necessarily that Milner can't or Milner doesn't see him, but I don't think I see Milner collecting the ball on the sideline or on the left-hand side and playing and doing that give and go with Mane that we see a lot with Robbo. He'll slide the ball to Mane and then take off towards the box. I mean, you don't see James Milner do that. Plus Milner, I think, gets deeper towards the end line a lot more than we see Robbo. And I remember, vividly, one point where Milner tried to play it across, but just slipped and fell. And I was like, oh, okay, well, Robbo probably would have played that in a little bit higher up the pitch, but it is what it is. Brian, what did you think about Milner on this one?
Yeah, he was fine. I mean, I don't think we're going to start him there, in a Champions League match. We're not going to start him there against a, top half team on, away or something like that where we need our very, very best. But you're right. Robbo comes on and we're different. He's just one of those unique players at that position. He's the last year and a half, he's probably been the best left back I've ever seen this team have. And I know we haven't had unbelievable, players there. This dude is world class, and he's 24 and a half or something like that. And we bought him for, $9 million from Hull. I mean, it's just absurd. I love the guy to death, and he's so good. One of the things he does really, really well is prior to anybody feeding him the ball, whether it's Trent or a midfielder or Bobby when he's cutting back and winning possession and playing out wide, the position that Robbo's in before the player even decides to give him the ball is superb. And that's one thing that Milner can't quite do because he's just a different type player. Nothing against Milner, but Robbo was so good at that. And you can see a difference when he comes on. And it's not just crossing; it's just his entire game. And who doesn't love Andy Robertson? I mean, he's awesome.
He's fun, and I mean, heck, James Milner even loves Andy Robertson. That's why they do those videos together.
They do. Did you see the Christmas movie one?
Yeah. Did you see the one? Did you see the Everton one?
What I watched the Christmas movie one the other day.
It was a fake one.
What's the Everton one? I might have seen it. It's escaping me.
It's a fake one. It was done by Elmo, the guy who does
fake one.
Yeah, it was done by Elmo, the guy that does the I Am Liverpool, and the ones with the drop it, whatever that sound. Anyway,
that doesn't help me, Joe.
Basically, he edits a whole bunch. He edits a whole bunch of shit together, and so basically says, who's the best Everton player, and it's all together, and they're basically saying they're all shit.
Nice.
I'll see if I can find it and I'll send it to you. I know Bobek saw it too, so yeah, it was fun.
Put it on our Facebook page so everybody can see it.
All right, I'll try to
put it on the pods Facebook page. If
all right,
so everybody can see it.
All right, Brian, what about Joe Gomez? What do you think about Joe's performance?
Yeah, another kind of new insertion into the back four, so to speak. He's played some there, especially with Matip's and Lovren's kind of injuries and inconsistencies. But I thought he was good. He had people talk about his positioning, and sometimes he's out of position at right back. And is he a liability? Is he not? I thought he was good. He had a couple of really nice passes out of the back. Now Watford were giving him a little bit of time, and he could kind of pick his head up and play that pass or two. But he played a couple of balls out to Shaqiri in the first half that bypassed the entire Watford midfielder and the Watford striker that was sort of putting a little bit of pressure on him. So, overall, I thought Joe was really good, and had a couple of nice sliding tackles in the I think mostly the second half, I believe. No, there was a couple in the first half too. I think he had a block on one of the Watford chances. So, generally speaking, I think Joe was good, and probably maybe our second best defender on the day, Joe Gomez. I liked it. What do you think about his performance?
Joe Gomez, solid performance. Long may it continue, Joe. I'm a big fan. I'm pulling for him. I want him to be number 2, behind Virgil van Dijk. So that's just me, but Joel Matip, who knows when he's coming back? And seriously, with Lovren not going to Qatar, we don't know when he's going to be back either. So, I think Klopp likes the option of having young guys in Kia Hover and Nico Williams, bringing them up if they need to. I don't see Liverpool making any kind of panic buy, especially if Joe keeps playing well. I mean, the guy started matches for the England national team and did well, player of the match performances. So I'm fine with Joe Gomez, and let's keep him playing because he plays great next to Virgil. We can't deny that.
Hell, I'd be good next to Virgil, but
you probably smell good too,
right? No, I'm being silly. Here's a question for you, Joe. I have been critical of Joe Gomez a couple times in this pod, and plenty of our guest co-hosts and people we watch matches with and stuff you read online, it's out there. So let me ask you this. So, Gomez is what, 22, right?
Something like that.
I'll say right now, and I believe I'm correct, Joe Gomez at 22 is much better than Virgil van Dijk was at 22.
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, Virgil van Dijk at 22, wasn't he still playing for Wilhelm?
Willem II, yes, which is in Holland, and I can't remember exactly when he went to Celtic in Scotland, and then of course on to Southampton. But and believe me, or please understand me, I'm not saying that Joe Gomez is going to be Virgil van Dijk in 4 or 5 years, but at 22, he's terrific, and I'm glad we have him. And I like him better in the center back role, much like Rustin does, as opposed to right back.
Yeah.
And he's 22. He's terrific, and he's had a solid game. And I hope he doesn't play too much in Qatar because I'm worried. I mean, right now we're just down to Gomez and Van Dijk as our starting 2 center backs, right?
Yeah. And
so
by the way,
that scares me a little bit with some big matches coming up. So I hope I'm going to risk taking the jinx crown from you here. We got to have those 2 guys come back healthy from Qatar. We've got to. So I think we'll see. Sepp, maybe we'll get to this, but I think Sepp might play against Monterrey or we'll see. But good game for Gomez. Let's move to the midfield and maybe the front
Brian,
3. What do you got?
I want to cut back real quick and talk about Virgil van Dijk. His youth career did start at Wilhelm, but he came out of Groningen, and at 22 he was at Groningen. That was also the year he ended up moving to Celtic.
Okay.
Depending on birthdays and all that stuff. So, his birthday is in July. So, the 2013 season, 2012, 2013, and 2013, 2014. Right about there. So we started to make that change. So, I mean, heck, Joe Gomez playing for a top team, the best team in the world at 22. You could say he is ahead of Virgil.
And he has more caps.
Yeah.
He's got more caps at 22 than, yeah.
True.
And July birthdays are the best. Me and Virgil van Dijk never had to go to school on their birthday in their life. It's a great thing.
I rarely had to, but that's because mine's usually during spring break. All right. So Brian, Bobby Firmino, a lot of talk lately about people not being happy with the way that Bobby's playing. What did you think about Bobby in this match?
I think Bobby's great. I already talked about that kind of over the head Bobby kick or whatever the hell you want to call it that set up their first goal. I've really come to the realization the last couple of days that we're asking him to play a little bit differently than we did last year. And it's not just noticeable in his goal tally. It's where he is on the field. He was multiple times against Watford, level or even with the center defensive mids, tracking back, winning balls, turning. And, there's been instances of him trying the extra flair and having it not come off and what have you. I know he hasn't scored as many goals, but he's important to the way we play. I can't think of anybody else on this team or really anybody else in this league that does what he does. He's a guy that he's one of the few forward players, meaning a front three or a false nine or whatever you want to call it. He's one of the few players in this league that can disrupt the opponent's midfield and cause them problems before the manager realizes there's a problem and makes an adjustment. He just does it, and he wins balls, and I love the guy. Everybody knows he's one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player. We've got more Firmino shirts, I think, in this. Well, I've got more Fowler shirts than anything, but Firmino's second. Owen's got one, whatever. I love the guy. I thought he was fine this match. I don't need him to score 20 goals a year. I need him to, creep into double digits and get a bunch of assists and win more balls and keep more possession and get more tackles than any other forward in this league.
And that's well said.
Am I crazy, Joe?
No, that's well said. I think that's kind of what we're looking at. But I also think Bobby, the thing that people are seeing, and maybe they're reading it wrong, is like you said, the goals are down from where they typically are.
Yeah, they are.
The assists
that
are
is
down
the most
too.
noticeable thing.
Assists are down a bit too.
Okay.
And so, but I think the main thing was, and it showed in this match too, a lot of his flash just isn't coming off at times. He gets, like you said, he had that fabulous pass. I can also think of one where he's moving laterally. Excuse me, he's not moving laterally, but he is moving from sideline to sideline and just has a ridiculous moment of skill. But some of the other stuff, especially in the box, you find him getting wrong-footed at times, and maybe just a little flat-footed too, or surprised, and things just aren't coming off for him at times. I think it's just a matter of time. I think it'll come. He's just, who knows? He's Bobby. Maybe he needs to go have his teeth re-whitened or something like that, and he'll be feeling fine. I really thought that. I really kind of been noticing this a bit more, and maybe it is the whole the flair's not there, but he recently got more his tips frosted again, so I think he's going to be back. I think it's just taking a little bit of time. Bobby without hair dye just doesn't. The hair dye affects his play. I think it's just Samson style.
Maybe he needs the long hair again and throw it up in the man bun, circa 2015. But you're right. It really, I think it comes down to, at times, his first touch is not as good as we are used to it being, and that kind of shows him to be wrong-footed sometimes, and the ball gets stuck in his feet, or the first touch is a little bit heavy, and the defender gets a foot in or gets a touch in, that kind of thing. So I sure hope it's going to turn better. I don't expect a hat trick anytime soon. I don't think we're asking him to do that, especially with some of the goals we're getting from midfielders and all kinds of players all over the field scoring, and Nabby and that kind of thing. So Ox could get hot. Who knows? But Bobby's Bobby, and he's unique, and I love him, and I don't think he's really too far off his best. I just think it's a couple small things, and we'll see. Maybe he'll go over to Qatar and fire a few in and come back, just ready to go. So a brace against Leicester. I'll just say it there right now. And if I'm wrong, then
all right. How many?
Joe, you can buy everybody a beer.
How many people does he roundhouse kick?
Supporters or teammates?
Teammates.
Referees, linesmen,
Jamie Vardy's,
journalists. Jamie Vardy's. I heard today that Virgil did a flying Bobby kick to celebrate a goal against Watford. I didn't see it. I want to go back and look it up. But
there was one
about that. I think it might have been the Redmen were talking about that Virgil did a Bobby karate kick celebration. So
I'll have to go back.
We'll have to go back and try to figure that out. But
oh man, all right. Moving on. Speaking of the guys who score goals, Mane. What do you think about Mane's performance?
He's just having a great year. He's just beating people off the dribble. He's picking his head up and putting dangerous balls in. He's scoring goals. I know we'll get to Mo, and he had the 2 today, but Sadio's having a terrific year. He's dangerous. He's causing every right back in this league to absolutely shit their pants.
You think Kieran Trippier's got a load already?
I think Kieran Trippier is feigning injury already, and his coach is saying, "Stop it."
Yeah, we'll talk about that after a bit. Mane just doing Mane things. I mean, James Redmond from the on the Redmen. He doesn't do ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. He says Sadio Mane is the best player in the world, has for years. But I'll tell you what, I'm kind of leaning that way. The performances that we've been getting from Mane as of late are just like next level. I mean, seriously, I haven't seen performances like this. And yes, he might not be tearing up the goal scoring charts, but his assists are skyrocketing up too. I mean, he could probably have more goals and assist combination this year than anybody, maybe even in the world. I'm not going to say that because there's still somebody in Barcelona named Lionel Messi. But Mane's having a hell of a year. And actually, Brian, don't quote me if I'm wrong, but if excuse me, don't kill me if I'm wrong or whatever. I don't know the expression, but I thought they said
quote kill. Don't quote kill me.
Yeah, don't quote kill me.
Yes,
but
I will not quote kill you.
I thought that Sadio Mane got a lot of votes from Africa for a Ballon d'Or. And if those votes had gone to Virgil, like a lot of people thought they should have, Virgil van Dijk's Ballon d'Or winner. So, I mean, Mane's getting a lot of...
I remember hearing about that, and I might get it wrong too, so don't quote kill me, but it was... There was something about the African vote being split between Mane and Salah, and if that had gone to one or the other, and they grabbed a couple of Virgil's European votes, they might have overtaken Messi, or if those votes would have gone to Virgil, then he overtakes Messi too. So, that's the curse of having three guys in the top four in the Ballon d'Or voting, I guess.
Exactly.
It happens to Everton all the time.
Great. He really is having a great year. Just enjoy watching Mane. Enjoy it. Brian, Mohamed Salah gets 2 goals, but what about the rest of his performance?
Well, we have to mention this is 3 consecutive goals with his right foot, which I don't think he's ever done before.
Was his back heel with his right foot?
Yes,
I missed that.
Heel,
oh, geez.
Nutmeg with his right heel, his right foot, and obviously the first goal is special. Just that that long ball, that kind of first time ball for Mane to put him through, and he cuts it inside and just carves it far post side netting with his right foot. And then the goal prior to that was that crazy angle right footer, at Salzburg.
That was ridiculous.
3 in a row with Mo with the right foot. If he. I'm sorry, defenders have to be just worried about, okay, now he's scoring with his right foot. Now what do we do? Because, I mean, he can get a shot off with his left foot. I don't want to say anytime he wants, and some of them will get blocked, but, some of them might go wide and some of them get saved, but some of them go upper 90 when he puts it onto his left foot. He's so agile. He's just so quick on the turn. His close control is terrific. I don't think he had a spectacular match or an unbelievable match. That's when he scored 4 against Watford, last year?
Something. I don't remember.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, that 44 goal season he had, he had the 4 against Watford, I believe, that game, and I could be wrong, so don't quote kill me, but he had a good game, and he's dangerous. He was kind of central and on his own a lot, as opposed to playing kind of wide right with Bobby and Mane equal to him. So a little bit of a different formation at the time, but he still got 2 goals and 2 fantastic finishes. And, I wish the second one wouldn't have come so late, but, because we could have sealed it and been a little bit less nervous in the last, 20 minutes. But I thought Mo had a good performance. What do you think?
I thought Mo was fabulous. I think he's finally feeling good. I think that's what it really boils down to. Mo's feeling good. Obviously,
so are you suggesting he got something frosted, or
no? He had those
cut, or
no? He had that ankle injury or leg injury, and I don't think he was playing at 100%. I think he's finally back to 100%, and I think he's playing a lot better now because he's feeling good. But let's be honest, man. There was at least one time where he's getting dragged and pulled down, but he just fights through it. He could have easily gone down and gotten a penalty and probably scored earlier in the match.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Yep.
But you never know if they're going to give it. So I mean, just fight through if you can, and maybe you still have a better chance of scoring a goal. So
you're right. That's one of the things I hate about this league and in some ways this sport worldwide is referees have got to start calling the foul and calling it on the defender even though the attacker doesn't go down.
Yep.
The referees have created this kind of diving culture as much as the players have, if not more so. That was absolutely a foul. Mo's trying to fight through it. He's done that before, instead of just going down, and that's a foul, and just call it. I'm waiting for the time a referee calls a penalty when the player doesn't go down because it was a foul. I will celebrate, and I will do a dance, and because that needs to happen. And that it would be it's the right thing for the rule book, it's the right thing for the sport, but we'll say that for another podcast, I guess. But let's talk about the back line a little bit more.
Virgil van Dijk, Brian, what are you thinking about Virgil?
He's big. He's got hair that I wish I had. I know he's got hair that you wish you had. And he smells good, like we said. I mean, what can you say about this guy? He is faster than he should be for his size. He is stronger than he should be for his quickness. He is just so smart on the ball. There's nothing, absolutely nothing not to love about this guy. He's only 27.
8.
So 28. All right, thank you. So he's at his peak right now. Center backs can be terrific into their early and mid 30s. We've seen that with Carragher and Hupia and all kinds of players in this league. He's magnificent. I think he should be captain now, and I understand why the club hasn't done it. The only thing I don't like about him is the blue boots, and that's just me. But he's awesome. He's great. And anything that you recall specifically from this match, or talk to me about Virgil.
I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he almost scored. Well, the camera angle made it look like an OG. It looks like he's playing a pass back to Allison, but doesn't even look at where Allison's at. Luckily, he puts it wide of the goal, and Allison just kind of ushers it out instead of just trying to save it. But holy cow, I was like, the angle that they had it, I was at Ben's basketball game about ready to throw my phone because Virgil almost passed it into an open net.
Now, is that the Dilling phone or is that the work phone?
Dilling phone.
Okay, so
it has a case.
Maybe it has a case. You're gonna hit a second grader in the forehead with a phone and say, "Oh, it's got a case. Get up."
Yep, exactly. No, but yeah,
that's funny. No, at first I thought that was well, he certainly had Allison beat. So if that's on goal, then then that's in. But
I was like, what the hell is he doing?
Well, I think there probably was a little bit maybe lacking communication there, or one guy says something too late, or perhaps not loud enough. I don't think that's going to happen again. Much like Adrian not having his boots or his shirt ready to go. That's not going to happen again either. Or not getting the wall ready. That's not going to happen again either. So they'll have addressed it. They'll have talked about it. And, it was one of those things that we kind of got away with, and it went wide. And Watford's just lucky we didn't score off of their corner again, I guess.
So Brian, final discussion on players. Alisson Becker.
Just good game, didn't he? Had a couple of good saves.
Great game, yeah.
We needed him to make a couple of saves. He's just a couple of one-on-one saves, and I know they had a couple of almost point-blank chances where you think this is going in, and they whiffed on him or sprayed it wide or knocked it out for a throw-in or, just finished really badly. But he had a couple of good saves as well, and, it commands his box. He's good on corners. He's good on crosses. He's just, I hate to – we kind of joke a little bit sometimes about Karius and Mignolet and some of those guys on this podcast, and we don't mean to do so maliciously, but he's why we spent the money on one of the best goalkeepers in the world, in my opinion, the best. And maybe I'm biased here, but this is why you buy a great goalkeeper, because he's just good every single week.
It's awesome. It really is. Well, recently he hasn't really had to do much. But to basically come in and not see, well, he probably sees them in practice, some of the best players making shots and stuff, but he hasn't been needed much, and then he shows up and puts up a great game. I mean, it's what you really need from a goalkeeper. Let's skip ahead, Brian. Man of the match. You giving it to Alisson, or are you going somewhere else?
I have to give it to Salah, I think. I mean, 2 goals and a 2-0 win. It's hard to not give it to him. And I thought Alisson was good and important. I can't give it to our goalkeeper when we be the last place team 2-0. I'm going to give it to the guy that scored. I'm going to give it to the guy that scores 2 goals. So
I
what
told
do you
myself,
think? Who's your man of the match?
I told myself I'd flip you. If you went Allison, I was going to go Salah. If you went Salah, I was going to go Allison. So I'm going Allison.
So justify that. Go ahead.
I think his saves at 1-0 kept it 1-0, and I don't know if we make it.
Yeah, that's because they didn't score, right? So it stayed 1-0.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, good. That's
so his saves
very good.
kept
You're
it
accurate.
at 1-0.
Keep going.
His good saves at tough times kept it at 1-0. I don't know if if it goes 2-1. I don't know if it goes 2-1. To be honest, I think Watford changes their play a little bit if they're out 1-1. Who knows? Maybe they try and get another one and try to break the streak at home. But I think
would have.
I think his saves were vital to keeping the match Liverpool. So that's why
that's fair. That's fair. So let me ask you this question: is this fueled by the Allison shirt you have arriving at the house like any day now, or is it there?
I don't know when it's coming.
Is it not
Brian.
there yet?
I think
okay. So shipping is tough this time of the year, so don't worry about it.
Especially from China, and I'm trying to figure out if he put the right tracking information in because the shipper has no idea, or the shipping company has no idea what this number is. And he's like, and every message I get starts with friend. And it's like, friend,
Oh, no.
I promise you that I've shipped this. And I'm going, great, I'm out $20 fucking bucks.
Well, we've got a podcast, law enforcement crew now from last week. If you listen, so you're buying questionable things from who knows where. So if you get a knock on your door really loudly in the middle of the day, don't answer it.
I mean, heck,
just like Kratz.
I just bought something from China that's perfectly legal to have. It might be bootleg, but that doesn't mean that it's illegal.
Well, you don't put it on your leg. No, that's not how it works.
Well, it is supposed to come with socks, so you would put them on your leg.
Well, you're going to give it to your kid and say, this is match worn, and you just give it to him.
I might.
It'll be size extra as medium, but just tell him it's match worn. It's good.
I love it when you do that. Extra medium. It cracks me up every time. Ginny goes off injured. Brian, he's on the plane to Dubai. Excuse me, not Dubai, to Qatar. Do you think he's going to be fit enough to play, or do you think maybe we've got a little bit of an issue? They've been kind of tight-lipped about it.
Well, according to you, it depends on how much he hydrates himself on the plane, because he'll get off the plane and his leg will be twice the size as normally he's supposed to be. Which, I mean, I've flown a lot. I mean, I used to. For those of you that don't know, I had a job that followed the PGA Tour from city to city to city years and years and years ago. So I've flown pretty much everywhere, like all the time. I never once noticed any kind of swelling, whatever. So maybe I was just hydrating myself with whatever. But no, not to make light of this. I really hope Genie's okay. He's a little bit like Firmino to me. He plays so many different roles in the midfield and helps kind of contain their best player. And he wasn't particularly good in this match, but I really want him healthy, and I really want him to be okay. I haven't heard anything on an update of his injury, and hopefully he's not too swollen. I know they've already been landed in Qatar, and there's some great video of the bus arriving at their hotel and local fans going nuts for the Liverpool bus going by. But have you heard anything about his injury update? How is he? I really don't know.
No, I haven't heard anything. Klopp said 2 days ago that he might not make the trip. They hadn't really had an assessment yet. So I mean, it happened on Saturday, and they were probably talking to him right after the game, and they hadn't had it looked at yet. They left Sunday, so they must have gotten a good scan and saw that maybe he'll be fit. Maybe not maybe they won't push him against Monterrey, but maybe against in the final if Liverpool make the final match.
Yeah, so, I think we're going to see some serious. I don't want to call it squad rotation, but we're not going to see our supreme 11 against Monterrey. I just don't think we will. But
I want to, though.
And Genie's a good guy to rest in that match. Whether he picked up a slight injury or not, he probably was going to rest that match, and I got no problem with that.
All right, so I just want to say something, Reds. enjoy this. Liverpool are 10 points clear, will be a minimum of 7 points clear with a game in hand when we face Leicester on Boxing Day, which is the next time we play a Premier League match. Up the Reds. So some big club news came out last week. I don't know if they needed it because they needed some cheering up because of the way that the general election went. But it comes out. On Thursday.
They're laboring over there. They're just laboring.
It comes out on Thursday that Liverpool have all but agreed with Salzburg for Minamino. Incredible journals even, and Salzburg later on said that it was happening. So it rumored that he only needs to have a medical, which I thought I saw someone trying to leak. I don't know. That was happening yesterday or today or whatever, or that he's maybe
I'll
tomorrow.
give him a quick medical. That's fine. Just send him over.
Yeah. So from what you've seen from him so far, Brian, how do you feel about this signing?
It's hard not to love it. It's, like a lot of Liverpool supporters, the only time I've ever seen this guy play was against us twice.
Yeah.
And he was terrific in both games. And, Holland got a lot of attention. And what's the other fellow's name? Hwang, is that right?
Yeah,
Hwang.
Yeah.
I believe is what he's called. Those three guys, those two guys along with Minamino were terrific. And Minamino was probably the best. So, stupid me, I kind of thought, what the hell is everybody getting so excited about this guy that I've only seen play twice? Well, then I read that, Klopp had been following him for more than a year, if not 2 years. The scouting group had watched him many, many times. And, it's no secret, Klopp loves players from Salzburg or players that have been through the Salzburg system.
Yeah.
They've got players all over the world they're exceptional. They're doing something special over there, to bring these players along. And like we mentioned on the last pod, their scouting department have just plucked these players from nowhere. I don't want to say nowhere. That sounds mean. Pluck these players from obscurity, like Mane and Keita and now Minamino, and just tons of players that they're just getting. I'm excited about it. He's versatile. He's exciting. He's dynamic. He's talented. He's probably sending Adam Lallana on his way, in my opinion, which is fine with me because he's a much younger guy and I think a much better player. And, there's the other aspect here, which is not terribly important to me, but I guess it might be a factor for the club. Kind of opens up the Japanese market for us, so to speak, with, television rights and jersey sales and, all that kind of thing. And that's a cool thing. I believe, and I think you and Jim were talking about it, or at least confirmed it. I believe he's the first Japanese player potentially ever to put on the Liverbird on his shirt. So pretty cool. Very cool.
7.25 million British pounds was his release clause.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Ridiculous. I really like this. I mean, like you said, from what we saw from him, he really impressed. And reports were that some of the senior members of the team, I'm probably going to say Virgil van Dijk, guesstimating, went to Klopp and said, we need to sign this guy.
Hendo was in on this, I think, for sure.
True. They were saying, we need to sign this guy. And Klopp's like, we already are working on it.
Yeah, how great is that story?
That's awesome.
That dude was pretty good. Klopp's like, yeah, I know, I'm working on it.
I think this season at least, and I think he could be kind of like what Heung-min Son was for Spurs for a while. He's that guy that comes off a bench and wins a game for you. I don't think he starts right now. Maybe next year, but right now, I mean, man, he's got something and he can get that spark. It's going to take him a little bit to settle, I think. A big change from Japan to Austria to England. But if he comes in January, I think he could be that spark off the bench that we need and give us a late winner if needed. I think the future's great with Minamino coming in.
Wait a minute. So you're saying he's not going to play for us in Qatar? Is that what you're saying? Okay,
That's kind of an inside joke.
So,
that's kind of an inside joke.
Another big piece of news from the club this week, Joe. I want to hear you just going on because I know. I mean, everybody's talking about this worldwide. Is Jurgen Klopp picked up a pen, went to a piece of paper, and signs an extension to 2024.
You know what?
I mean, just wonderful. Talk to me about Jurgen and this extension, Joe.
This is fabulous. I mean, it really is. It shows a statement from the club that they're committed to winning. They're going to do what it takes to keep probably the best manager. No, I digress. One of the best managers that we've ever seen in the world at the club, and they're going to keep him for a long term. He'll be at 10 years in 2024. And I love it. The players love playing for him. We're probably going to see some players go, but that just means that there's going to be new players in, and you can get that kind of longevity when players are leaving and coming, because they don't get tired. They don't get tired of hearing that message. So I think we're gonna have some good things with Klopp, and I'm really excited for the future. But enjoy the present. It takes that weight off of whatever everybody worrying about. Was it the end of next season? I think it was
2022.
Yeah, 2022. So it's just a 2-year extension, but still.
Not anymore.
No, now it's a 4-year. No, well, 2 more year extension. So he's there till 2024. But man, if they had only known that they just needed to buy him a house, and so he could live rent free in a house as well as in Pep Guardiola's head, then maybe they probably would have done it earlier. Brian, how excited are you for Klopp sticking around?
What great news. It's been an unbelievable week with these signings, and we'd have been thrilled if it was just Minamino. But now it's Minamino and Klopp, and it doesn't even end there. It's just he's wonderful. He's hilarious. I got the chance to meet him very briefly in South Bend and say hello, and just saw him interact with, about 35 or so supporters that were lucky enough to kind of do a behind the scenes thing. And he's just, it's, I know I only saw him for about 10 minutes, but it just strikes me as genuine. And you see him interacting with fans, and you see him on the top of a bus drinking a beer. You see him laughing with journalists and kidding them about their phone ringing in the middle of a press conference, which was hilarious. You and Jim saw him at a press conference up in South Bend, and just the way he interacts. He's the most Scouse German in the history of the world. I guess that's the only way I can really put it, and I hope that comes across as okay. It just popped into my head, but it might not be very politically correct, but he's the most Scouse German in the history of the world. I hope I get away with that.
You mentioned that you mentioned that press conference that Jim and I got to go to. It was awesome because we even got to see him. Somebody asked a stupid question. We got to see him rip him. It was great.
Did you see the press conference last week? I think it was might have been the pre-Watford match. It might have been the post-match press conference against Salzburg. And one of the journalists will put their phones up against the microphone or next to the microphone and just, record things, so they have to write everything down.
Yep.
And the phone rings in the middle of the question. Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's hilarious. So the phone rings. It just kind of starts vibrating. So the journalist clearly had the ringer off, but it's vibrating. And Klopp looks down at the phone. There's a stack of phones there. And he looks at it. He stops answering the question. He looks at it, and he goes, I'm going to get this name wrong. It was Princess something, like, Princess Super Duper or Princess Sweetness, Susie or whatever. So Klopp looks down, and he goes, oh, his phone's ringing. And one of the journalists says, oh, it's not mine. And Klopp looks down, and he goes, oh, it says Princess, Super Sweetie or whatever. And the whole room starts laughing. And some journalist goes up and kind of grabs it, and Klopp just looks at the guy, and goes, "Congratulations." I will find the link to it, and I'll throw it up on our Facebook page as well, that Joe's going to reference at the end of the pod here. But it's just typical Klopp. It's just another reason to love the guy. He's fantastic, and he's ours until at least 2024. And I know a contract is just a contract, and he could decide to, leave or whatever. But it
makes you feel better, though.
I love it. Every Red around the world was jumping up and down when they heard about that.
Oh yeah, because there were a lot of people thinking that he's going to go, that Jurgen Love's pretty much done in Germany or with the German national team. He might have this next Euro and maybe the next World Cup, but thinking that this would be a good time for Klopp to come in and be done, and they'll be done with Jurgen Love. But hey, he's with us now, so they might pull him, but they're gonna have to pay a whole hell of a lot of money to release that contract.
I hope Germany does really, really well at the next World Cup. I don't want them to win it. Sorry, Bastian, our friend Bastian from Dortmund, but I hope they do really, really well. So there's no reason to get rid of their manager, and no reason to try to get Klopp. Maybe they make the final and lose, or something like that. But
I just think Yuri Love.
Maybe they lose. Maybe they lose on a VAR goal. That'd be good.
I think Yuri Love's like ready to just go be zen up in the mountains, up in the Alps.
Yeah, that could be. Klopp, I think, is going to stay with us till 2024. Take his almost automatic sabbatical when he leaves the club for a year, and who knows what. But we've got him at least 2024. But that's not the only signing and the only pen to paper that happened last week.
Brian, I was completely surprised with this, but James Milner gets a 2-year contract extension. I'll be honest, I really was surprised. I thought maybe we'd see a 1-year extension, but I had him slated to leave the club either this summer or next summer and go to Leeds, play for a year or two at Leeds where he started, and then retire.
Yeah, he's from there.
From Leeds, played for Leeds.
Yes. Youngest Premiership player ever, I believe. It's 16 years and something or other, or maybe youngest goal scorer or something like that. I know he played for Leeds in the Premier League at 16 and something, but. Yeah, so you were surprised by this?
I was surprised. I really didn't think they were going to sign him. I thought maybe there would be an offer out there, just to kind of save face. But I honestly thought that he'd want to go, and that we got him on a free. I could see James being like, look, I don't need to be sold, and a team like Leeds isn't going to have a lot of money to pay for a James Milner. James Milner just released a book, by the way. So if you are on if the Indie Reds podcast is on your holiday shopping list, look up. We would definitely appreciate Questions to a Footballer by James Milner. I've read at least one excerpt on it about Divock Origi, and I want to read the rest of this book.
I didn't even know I had a book out there.
Yeah, just came out last week. Or maybe it was this week. But yeah.
So what do you think the chances are that he ends up, well, I haven't looked up the championship standings for a while, and I should know this because I have a very good friend from high school and college roommate, and the guy that was in my wedding is still a massive Leeds supporter, even since the early 90s. He picked Leeds, and he's still a Leeds supporter. Sports writer out in Terre Haute. His name's Todd Golden. Very talented, good guy. But I don't know. Is Leeds still? I think they're still in the promotion places.
Yeah, second
place.
They
could get promoted, and maybe he could go anyway despite this extension. But I think it's a good kind of safety blanket for the team to have him around just in case Leeds don't pull it off. I think they blew it last year in the playoffs, or blew it late. But hell, as long as Milner can keep winning the lactate test, pre-season, where he can just outrun everybody on the team, even the 20-year-olds, then we're going to keep him.
That's the thing. I think James Milner is a great locker room guy. Whether he's
an alien.
He's an alien.
How else can he be doing this?
Come on, he and Robbo are like best buds out there. I mean, seriously, you see him cut these things and they're ripping each other the whole time and having a laugh. By the way, Leeds Leeds close to
Robbo's screaming.
Leeds close to
Milner.
Already getting promoted, second place, but they're at 10 points over third place. So as a reminder, the third through sixth have a playoff for the third promotion spot. Leeds and West Brom pulling away. West Brom's actually 12 points over third place. So looking good for them. Yeah, looking good for them. So,
good for Leeds, I guess. I know they've had some weird financial shit going on, and their supporters have a bit of a reputation. But yeah, Anyway, we got Milner for a few more years, and that's a good thing for us, I believe.
I love it. All right, so Brian, coming up, looking at future matches, the Tire Cup match against Aston Villa. Pretty much already written on the wall. We're going to play the youngsters. Do you think Villa put out Jack Grealish and their top team, or do you think they play some of their youngsters too?
Oh, they absolutely put out their top team. They want to advance in this competition. I mean, they don't have a whole lot else to play for other than to make sure they don't get relegated. So they want to advance, and I think they're going to put out the very best team that they possibly can. Not even with one or two, youngsters or one or two guys to rotate or anything like that. They're going to put out their best team and try to beat us. So that's what I think is going to happen. So I want to know your opinion on that. And I'm going to – what is this Tire Cup thing? I'm missing it. I'm blanking on this. I'm sorry.
I thought Carabo was a tire company. I could be completely wrong.
I thought it was like a coffee drink or something.
That's Caribou.
Is it a tire
That's Caribou
company?
Coffee.
Well,
they're,
Caribou is an animal. Carib is a fake chocolate.
Caribou chocolate. Carabo Cup.
It's actually a tire company. So all along I've just been calling it whatever, and I didn't even know it was a tire company. That's funny. All right, so point the finger.
Oh, wait, no, I digress. It's an energy drink.
I knew it wasn't a fucking tire company.
Okay, so all right, the energy drink cup. There we go. I digress, everybody. I thought it was a tire company.
Well, if you melt down the tires and
probably tastes about
drink
like some
them,
tires.
No, that doesn't work.
Probably tastes like tires.
So what? So you think Aston Villa will play some of their tired players?
Oh, bad tie-in. No, I think you're spot on. They have everything. Or they're going to hint. They want to win a trophy this year, and this is a chance for them to do it. I mean, let's just be brutally honest.
Yep.
They're not gonna rest anybody.
Yep, I think you're right. But that's not the most important game we have this week, is it?
No, it's not. But I want to just look at one thing real quick. You're right. They're just trying to
a good year. What are you looking at?
Just outside. Sorry, they're just outside. I got a guy on the other line asking about a new set of white walls. I'll get back to you. Do you know what that's from?
A good set of white walls?
A good set of white walls. Yeah, it's from one of my favorite baseball movies, Major League. When they're asking the coach.
I don't remember that part of the Major League.
When they're trying to put together the team, and they go to the coach, and he's like, you want to come coach in the big leagues at the Indians? He's like, I don't know. I got a guy on the other line. He's working that tire shop. I got a guy on the other line looking for a new set of white walls. I'll have to let you know.
The best baseball movie ever, Joe, is when the team at the very end loses the game and the manager gives them all beers and they're middle school kids. That's the best baseball movie ever.
The Bad News Bears?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next match, we have two matches coming up. It's actually rescheduled. The West Ham match, which I might be okay with. Club World Championship. Liverpool, we mentioned a few times, flew out to Qatar, however you want to say it.
Qatar.
By the way, speaking of this, the Anfield Rep did a great interview, posted out. It was free last week about Qatar. A lot of people, including myself, frustrated when Qatar was awarded the 2022 World Cup. And ever since, there's just been reports of human rights violations in Qatar. They do a great job of bringing that up and discussing it. And Neil Atkinson is not hosting, but more of a guest on there. And one of the things they do bring up is that this whole labor force that they've been talking about is only like 2% of the entire workforce in Qatar. However, it still doesn't, in my opinion, justify human rights violations. Anyway, that being said, the club have also turned down staying at a certain hotel because of those same violations. So I applaud the club for making that kind of stand, and fully respect them. And another reason that I love this club. Anyway, it's the Club World Championship. If you're not familiar with what that is, the winner gets a nice trophy and they get to wear a gold badge, and parade around that they are the best team in the world. Liverpool on Wednesday play Monterrey, the CONCACAF champions. Game is at 12:30. Brian, do you know what TV channel it's on? I have no freaking clue.
No, I do. I've got the broadcast information ready to go for you. In fact, I didn't even know if you needed this, but I was researching it myself. So
it's FS2, right?
The first semifinal is Tuesday in the afternoon on Fox Sports 2. Liverpool play Wednesday, also on Fox Sports 2. So, thanks to our good friend Bo Back and Don Moore, both Indy Reds, for kind of helping me figure that out, because I got it wrong today. So they were very nice to set me straight. So Fox Sports 2, for those of you that need that. And Liverpool play on Wednesday. Now, the kicker here is should we win on Wednesday against Monterey, the final is on Saturday. And also on Fox Sports 2. But interestingly, that match is not going to be shown live in the United States on Fox Sports 2. There's a college basketball game on Fox Sports 2 at the same time as this match. So in the States here, they've decided to play the game on tape delay on Fox Sports 2, I believe at 5 or 5:30. So that's Eastern time. Check your listings for those of you that are away from Eastern time that listen to us to see when that's on Fox Sports 2. So I believe it's also on ESPN Deportes for those of you that habla español, and it's on various illegal streams that Joe is so fond of.
I just find those for after matches to get replays when they decide not to give the replay.
There you go. And I believe I believe there's some talk of beIN Sports, maybe carrying the match, but it's definitely Fox Sports 2 event, so to speak. And so it's kind of a tricky one. So do some research, and it's a trophy worth winning for sure. It's hard to get into, and you have to kind of win your continent's championship, in this case the Champions League, for Liverpool to even get invited to this event. So I want us to win it. I do want us to win it, but more importantly, I want nobody to get hurt. So that's what I'm worried about.
Brian, we're the best team in this, probably because we're the best team in the world. I think we just need to go out and prove it. The guys from Fluminense, I believe that's right, from Brazil.
Yes, Fluminense from Brazil, Monterrey, and I believe El Halil, or I'm really going to get that wrong. The Asian champions. We're the best team in it for sure.
Let's just go out and blow them out of the water. I'm serious. Put the best guys out there, no injuries, and just let them destroy these guys. Make them look like the embarrass them. I want to see them embarrassed. Let's just be honest. Even if it was
Joe's
an MLS side
for like a 10-0, 6-0 or something, huh?
Yeah. I am. I'd love it. I'm not saying we're going to do that, because I think Klopp's a little bit classier than that. But I could see 5-0 matches. We'll see.
No look, Bobby.
I'm not going to be
back.
I'm knocking on wood, because I don't want it to come back and us look past them. I don't think Klopp ever lets us look past these guys, or any team. Just focus on this next match and let's go. But seriously, on paper, there should be nothing here. Of course, that we've talked about this a lot lately. On paper, we should run away with this match, but then the other team is going to show up and play one completely out of their mind, and then and then we end up losing. So, or not losing, or barely. They're
going to show up and want to beat Liverpool, who haven't lost in forever.
But
so they're going to show up ready to play.
But those defenders are not going to have seen a strike force of Sadio Mane, Bobby Firmino, and Mo Salah before anywhere.
I think you're right, but we won't start that strike force in the semifinal. We probably will in the final.
Okay.
But you're right. We're the best team and certainly the favorites. So let's go do it.
Let's go do it. All right. So something else happened today. The Champions League draw round of 16 matches are out. Liverpool draw Atletico Madrid. Brian, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, at first there was a lot of screaming and yelling and people typing in all caps and all kinds of stuff. And I get it. There were easier draws than this, but I'm not that worried about it. And maybe I'm being a little bit naive here. Maybe I haven't really devoted a lot of time to think about it. And that certainly could be true because I had a busy day today. But, under Jurgen Klopp, this team has never, ever, ever lost a two-legged European tie. Ever. And that's in the Europa League a couple of years ago and the last two Champions Leagues. We've been to the three finals in a row. So we fear no team in Europe over two legs, and I don't fear Atletico either. I believe they're in fifth place in La Liga. They don't have the attack they used to have because Griezmann's long gone. And that doesn't mean we're going to hammer them. It doesn't mean we're going to, crush them like we are going to do to these teams in Qatar, possibly. But I don't mind this draw at all. There would have been easier ones, but it certainly isn't, the worst we could get either. So Am I crazy here, Joe, or are you worried about this, or what do you think?
I'm not worried. I wanted Real Madrid because I wanted to embarrass. Zinedine Zidane, talking shit yet again. Let's be honest. Eden Hazard doesn't play well against Liverpool. Gareth Bale, I don't even know if he's seeing the pitch much anymore. He was the only reason he and a few other things are the reason why we lost the final. I mean, when he pulls a worldie out for their second goal. But
we're better than we were back then.
We are a lot better, and I really want to embarrass Sergio Ramos. He's a little fucker who I have no shred of respect for, especially after how he talked trash about Mohamed Salah after he injured him on purpose. So I really wanted Real Madrid because I wanted to embarrass them, but I'm not super nervous about Atleti. They do have some good players. I mean, Diego Costa still does Diego Costa things. João Felix hasn't quite settled in yet. But they have probably the second best goalkeeper in the world in Jan Oblak. So, it's, of course, when we played Roma, when they had Alisson Becker, and we put how many past him? Was it 5 past him?
Yes, it was.
So, I mean, you get good shots. Keepers can't stop them anyways. But still, I think it's Liverpool's for the taking. I really like the fact that we're at home the second match, and our Anfield European night record is outstanding. So, I'd be fine with a 0-0 or maybe even a 1-1 at Atleti, and then come back to Anfield and do business. You never know.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. But like I mentioned,
we'll score
at
their place. We'll score at least one at their place, if not more than one.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, let's be honest. I mean, we talked about it before. How Mane's playing at a different level. I honestly think Kieran Trippier's trying to find a way to call in sick. I mean, seriously,
it's gonna use some PTO time.
Yeah, so, Mane. But I guess
I don't know how you say FMLA in Spanish, but I can probably figure it out.
FAMA.
FAMALA.
Yep.
Familia Medical Leave Act.
All right, so also, Brian, there's as I say, very tasty matchups. Real Madrid, Man City, Dortmund, PSG, Chelsea, Bayern, and Spurs, Leipzig. Do you have any thoughts on these matches?
There's a couple interesting ones. I think City's going to do Madrid. I don't know. I know Madrid just won on the weekend, but I still think City's a much better team. Dortmund PSG is interesting. I think it might be a fun tie and a couple of interesting matches. I think they're both kind of dynamic, interesting teams. We got to know a lot of Dortmund supporters here in Indy that are really great guys and gals too, or men and women, whatever. Sorry if I'm butchering that, but really good Dortmund fans here in Indy. So, I kind of hope that they win. I don't like PSG anyway. So, but I don't know that either one of those teams are going to go deep in this competition. Chelsea Bayern, that's crazy. I mean, it's Bayern is not having a good year in the Bundesliga. Chelsea, they're all about 15 years old. And so, who knows? But Chelsea's kind of punching above their weight. If you'd have told, how many weeks ago was it that Chelsea was in like 12th?
Yeah.
And if you'd have told them, a month and a half ago that you're, into the last 16 in the Champions League playing a team from Germany that's in 5th or 6th place or wherever the hell Bayern is, and you're, in 3rd or 4th or whatever they are in the Premier League, they would have, bitten your hand off in excitement. So I think Chelsea might surprise there. Spurs Leipzig is really interesting. Leipzig's in 1st of the Bundesliga, right? So I know you're a big Leipzig, or at least a Timo Werner fan. So what do you think about these matchups? Specifically, I want to hear what you think about Spurs and Leipzig.
on paper, I know we talk about on paper a lot. And by the way, yes, Leipzig are in
You can
first
say
place
on
right
FIFA
now.
if you want. That's fine.
No, I mean, you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh yeah, Leipzig should just slaughter Spurs. I mean, Spurs sitting in fifth place, but they have 26 points, and if they drop a point, I mean, they're dropping further and further down the table. It's not looking good for them. Let's just be honest. And then Jose Mourinho comes in, and all of a sudden they're playing better football. I don't know if that wears off or not, but one of the things we've been hearing a little bit about with that was Bayern. Never mind. With Leipzig, Timo Werner's having the best year of his career. And,
yes, he is.
And Chelsea's defense is susceptible to some gaffes. We'll just put it that way. I don't know how long before Rudiger's healthy. He will help them out a lot. But I don't know, man. If Timo Werner keeps scoring goals at a record pace, almost Robert Lewandowski rate, it could be game over for Spurs. I mean, Brian, there's a real possibility, and I don't hold that much faith in Real Madrid. Let's be honest. I wanted them because I wanted to embarrass them. But that, in all honesty, we could be if we happen to, if it goes in our favor against Atleti, we could be the only English team left in the quarterfinals, which is wild.
I'll bet you a pint that's crazy.
It is crazy. I'm not going to take that bet.
Okay, then I guess I'm going to win then. So I think at least three English. Well, I think three English teams will go through.
I don't think Chelsea
City's
beats
going to
Bayern.
go through, and either Chelsea or Spurs will pull it off.
I think it's going to be City
three
and
are
Liverpool.
going through.
I don't think Chelsea gets past Bayern. Bayern has an interim manager right now, and I think everybody's been expecting them to make a formal announcement right at the start of their Christmas break, so that they go into their winter break and have time to work with their new manager during the winter break, and then get set up. And then by the time these games are kicking off in February and March, they're going to be back to full strength, and they're going to be the Bayern that everybody expects them to be.
Here's the bet.
I think Bayern could still win the league.
More or less than 2.5 English teams going through. So you get 2 or less, and I get 3 or 4.
I don't know.
Are you taking
I'm
under
not taking
2.5?
it because I haven't seen Leipzig play enough, and we don't know what we're going to see with Spurs. And there is the January transfer window before these matches happen. I can't take this bet right now, Brian, because there's too many.
If you're not confident, that's fine, Joe.
That's fine. I'm just doing my. I don't gamble, first of all, and except slot machines every once in a while. I don't make beer bets, Brian. Remember you owed Jim and I beers for like for something crazy, and they're like, I'm never doing that again.
I actually don't remember that. No,
it was like our first year.
I'll bring you some on Friday.
Beer bets.
Actually,
no. We're good. We've collected. We've since collected. But anyway,
okay.
Anyway,
well, good then.
I think Leipzig. I think Leipzig could do Spurs, but we don't know. We don't know what Josie's going to do. We don't know what's going to happen with Chelsea either, because they all of a sudden got a miracle, and UEFA said, okay, now you can. Now you guys, you only served a 6-month ban, but that's okay. That just drives me nuts. But anyway, so Chelsea could be big in this January market. We already expect. There's already talk that Liverpool could be making moves in January, which is very uncommon for us. I mean, we did bring in Virgil the 1 year and shipped out Coutinho. And Minamino's rumored to be coming in. Very likely rumored to be coming in. Yeah. But I mean, there's been some other talks too about some players going on loan. Also, maybe January is the right time to make moves on a couple other players too. So, trust in Michael Edwards. So we just don't know. I think there's just too much still available. Body of work so far this season. I would take that bet if it's just body of work so far this season. But the whole January transfer window, I think, as well as Bayern getting a new coach, and we don't know how they're going to play. So
Well, I'll still take more than 2.5, and we can talk about it in a couple of weeks if you want to see what happens
All
in
right.
the window and otherwise. So,
All right. Okay. All right. So, Brian, that's all I have so far. You anything else you want to slide in before we start wrapping up?
no, man, I'm good. I enjoyed it. Let's put a bow on this.
All right. Plugs, non-plugs, buddy. Coming to you
Ooh.
first.
I'm going to plug a match I watched last night. Actually, it was the NCAA, the Collegiate Men's Soccer Championship match was on last night. Played in Cary, North Carolina. It was Georgetown against Virginia. Terrific match, 3-3 in normal time. Played in extra time. Neither team had given up 3 goals all year. In fact, Georgetown only given up 2 goals twice. Some terrific play, and I know the college game gets, sometimes slighted in this country, and it's not quite, USL, and certainly isn't anywhere near MLS. But I grew up in a town that's big into college soccer. Great game last night, 3-3 normal time. Goes to penalty kicks. Penalty kick shootout ended up 7-6. In the first 13 penalties, 11 of them were absolutely brilliant and perfect, and the other 2, goalkeeper got a fingertip on it but just couldn't get there. Great match, great penalty kick shootout. Georgetown wins the national championship, and I just enjoyed sitting there watching the game. So, it's not too often I just kind of changing the channels and there's a game and I decided to watch it and didn't even know it was on. So plug the Georgetown Hoyas in a great national championship game because I really enjoyed it. So non-plug is it's kind of hard to not non-plug Serie A in general today.
Yeah.
They have a well-deserved reputation that has been built by some supporters, mostly for not being inclusive and not being accepting of diversity and all kinds of things. And Serie A themselves, the leaderships of the league, release some type of I don't even know what it is. I feel like I'm doing Jim a disservice because he would describe this better than I would today. Some kind of campaign about just not being racist in the graphics and the design and it's just terrible. And I'm not going to necessarily even give it credence of describing it, but
Yeah.
if you're on social media, look up Serie A and look up what the league has released. It's just, I don't get it. It's horrific. And probably the biggest non-plug I've ever given on this podcast, and I've given out many. Today goes to Serie A.
Yep. All right, I'm going to start out positive, Brian, and I've got three plugs. That might be a record right there.
Go for it. Hat trick of plugs. I want to hear them.
First one goes to Union Jack Pub in beautiful Broad Ripple. I can never plug them enough. And I think Bobek kind of gave me a shot that I don't always plug them, so I'm going to start doing that. So, haha, Bobek. Anyway, number 2 goes to Sadio Mane. I don't know how we've probably all seen it by now, but there's this great video going around of he's talking with Sarr, who's also from Senegal, after the match, but he actually is talking over to Troy Deeney, and he tells him to look out for Sarr. He's a real shy guy. Yes, he's learned English, but he's a real good guy. Look out for him. But then the thing for me was he also tells Deeney to go have a good Christmas and holiday, which is a holiday that he as a Muslim does not participate in. But him to actually say that to Deeney, I think it just kind of shows that kind of stuff, shows how good of a person Mane is at heart, and I love seeing anything good press about players. So truly love that. Also, for my third plug, I have a little bit of a story. Now, granted, I read this on Twitter, so this may or may not be the truth.
No, I think it's real. If I think you're talking about a particular goalkeeper, is that right?
Yep. So
I think this is real. Go ahead.
So an elderly Watford season ticket holder with early stages of dementia was going home from a match. He had some car problems, and after the match, and decided, oh heck, I'll just walk 10 miles home. So something happens, and he collapses, and he's lying in a ditch along like a 4-lane road. And then a car stops, and they had passed and then got about a mile further down the road, and they noticed that something was not right with him when he was walking, and then found him lying in a ditch. And they decided to turn back and help. It's actually Ben Foster, Watford's goalkeeper, his wife, and his father. They take the fan home, get him all cleaned up, and then Ben Foster tells him that he'll get his season ticket sorted for the next year. So, like I said, I read this on Twitter. Brian and I both want to believe that it's true. I hope that it is true. And I just want to say it's good to see in this crazy, messed up world that we live in, where so many of us can't stand to be around each other or can't even have a civil conversation about something. But to see somebody out there with such a good heart that they can look after somebody and do this kind of thing, it really kind of puts a smile on my cold, dark heart. So thank you, Ben Foster, for just being a good person. That's awesome.
All right, nice job. Now bring it to the negative. Non-plug.
My non-plug.
Go for it.
So, as Brian mentions quite frequently, I NBC Sports. I don't know. NBC Sports will not. For some reason, they won't give us the full match replay of Liverpool matches. So I have to go find elsewhere. And one of the feeds I found was of the BT announcers from our match this weekend. And I don't know who was calling it. Oh yeah, I do. It was Steve McManaman was one of them, and it wasn't him. I want to say it was Darren Foster. But anyway, keeps talking about the Invincibles not being that far off, or we're getting near the Invincibles. Please,
this is the Arsenal Invincibles, right?
Yes,
the
only the Invincibles. History. Yes, please stop.
Gotcha.
Please stop. It's kind of like when you have a baseball pitcher on a no-hitter, you don't talk about it because you're going to jinx them. So please just stop. Stop talking. Stop comparing us to the Invincibles. Stop saying that Liverpool could be the Invincibles. Don't. Just don't talk about it. That's my non-plug, Brian.
But Joe, the Invincibles weren't even that good.
They weren't, but.
And that might be a bad take, and some listeners might be thinking, what the hell? The Invincibles had 90 points, and yes, they didn't lose, but they had 12 draws. We played 17 games. We have one draw, so that means there are, 21 left?
Brian, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk
We can win 10 and draw 12 or draw 11, and we tie them. We're not going to draw 11.
But they'd still be the Invincibles. That's the thing. I mean, I agree. Plus, I think their run, because their run stretched into the year before. I think it started. Was it like March? Maybe April.
I don't know if you combine the two seasons on them. I know that the season that the entire season where they didn't lose. They had 12 draws and they ended up with 90 points and they won the league. So
but the before, I mean, if Liverpool could do that, let's just knock on wood and put points aside. If they do it,
we're not supposed to talk about it. You just said.
Fair enough. I'm not even going to mention it then. I do.
Next pod, maybe.
I do. This is kind of a plug. Kind of not. I just want to mention. So there's this. Last week we talked about Hot Mic. Brian, Jim, and I reached out to them to see if that was something that would work for us. We chatted with them. I'm probably going to let them know here in the next day or two if they're not listening. But I don't think it's going to be a good fit for us just because of some technical issues. But it was an option, and I love their service, so I'm going to keep talking about them and encourage you guys, if you want to help not use NBC. I'm trying to avoid that hashtag that was circulating about a year ago. Or you don't want to use Fox, or you don't want to listen to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman anymore, or anything like that. Go check out this Hot Mic app. They're going to have a real official launch going out, but it is available on iOS, and they just launched officially their Android app, so you could listen on either one of them. It's a real slick service. We talked about it last week, but you download the app, you choose the match you're going to watch, choose your commentators, and it syncs up with the TV, and then you can turn your TV down and play through your Bluetooth speakers and listen to the match that way. It's really slick, and you get to hear the commentators. And if you want to hear a homer, then you can hear a homer. That's kind of what we were looking for. But anyway, So check them out. Hot Mic. I think they're going to be changing things and changing the game. It's going to be neat stuff. Continue to wrap up. Thank you all for downloading and listening. We really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Please help spread the word. And just by us doing good thing, or by you guys, we are able to do more and more fun things and bring you special interviews, and all that fun stuff. So if you want our contact information, it's in the comments, and that's where I'll leave you. 10 points clear a week before Christmas, Reds. Enjoy it. This is Joe Dilling signing off for episode 102 of the Indie Reds podcast. You'll never walk alone.